The Rice to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS, and brought to you by LL Povorski Jewelers, where Rice to Ricky Sanchez listeners go and get engaged. Cornblau and Cornblau, the official law firm of the process. Big Barker therapeutic dog beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. And Kinetic skateboarding. Get 9.1% off your first order with promo code Dave Silver. On the show today, while the U.S. team wins gold, Damian Lillard proves he's a Sixer by playing hurt and missing a ton of shots. Matisse Thybulle and Australia win the bronze. Danny Green returns to the Sixers on a 2-year, $20 million deal. Ben Simmons isn't returning Joel Embiid's phone calls. Summer League starts for the Sixers tomorrow, Monday, and Kevin Durant signs a $200 million extension with the Brooklyn Nets. That's all I got. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rice to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who I hope has been mainlining Elite. That is Mike Levin. Morning, buddy.
Morning.
How you doing?
I'm in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
My good friends got married, so I'm here, and it's been a weekend. It's been very nice to be here. The Phils are in first place. I'm hungover. Let's get it.
Yeah, this is one, I know you've said who would want to watch a podcast. I would recommend, if you're listening to this one, just check in on the YouTube because,
I might just lie down.
just check in on the YouTube. So, I mean, I want to hop right into the Lillard stuff because there has been, I would say, a number of people who have heard, and I don't know if anyone has done this publicly. There's been a little bit of Golden State, Portland stuff publicly, but I almost think that the chatter, the behind the scenes chatter, is too loud for it to be real. There's been a lot of behind the scenes chatter about a 3-team trade once Lillard gets back, with the Warriors and the Sixers and the Trailblazers, which would end up with Ben Simmons on the Warriors, Damian Lillard on the Sixers, and then everybody's stuff going to the Trailblazers. Of course, that backed up with some reporting. I don't even remember who it was from. Was this Jason Dumas? We'll get to that later, but that Ben wouldn't mind being in California, yada, yada, yada. And then Lillard, after the U.S. team wins gold, somebody asked him about the moves that the Trailblazers made. And I don't know if you heard his response, but it was a very, half-hearted support of, but basically saying we didn't get the players we wanted to get. So I think
didn't they only get Trevor? No,
he went to the Lakers.
It was Tony Snell.
And then they re-signed Norm Powell.
Mm-hmm.
So that was basically it. I have to imagine that their off season wasn't totally focused on getting Tony Snell. And I also have to
What if he was just like, I fucking love Tony Snell. That's all I needed. We are championship contenders.
Did you see those Sixers fans? Oh, no, wait. Did we boo Tony Snell? Yeah, we booed Tony Snell, right? That was right. Who we booed in Milwaukee. So, and I actually, more than I even believed it a week ago, I more believe now that that there's no NBA team that has any interest in trying to help the Blazers get any better and keep Damian Lillard. So I think that situation is over. I guess, I don't know. I said I do believe that the Sixers will wind up with Lillard, though I do think most likely that the trade will be something that sort of like comes out of nowhere. I just can't believe this thing that everybody is hearing this early is the thing that's going to happen. But I just, there's a lot of smoke is what I would say. There's just a lot of smoke right now.
Yeah, for sure. I saw some folks on Twitter, Dame's caption of an Instagram was "That's all, folks," which is what AD wore in his last night in New Orleans.
Correct. That was AD trying to have a personality, I guess.
And then he claimed that he doesn't pick his own clothes out, which is, I think, is a fun claim.
Because it's possible, I guess.
I guess it's possible, yeah.
Yeah.
I like lies like that. It was very fun. The Eric Bledsoe, I don't want to be here anymore. And then claiming he was in his girlfriend's salon.
Yeah,
I think is pretty cool. That's a good one for me.
Lies are great.
Lies are awesome. But yeah, it seems as smoky as it gets. And the Warriors 3-teamer is something that has made sense to me from the beginning. I feel like I've just peppered people with like screenshots of successful trade machine type trades, because it's just like the Warriors are not going to get anybody, but certainly not Ben Simmons for the sort of slop of stuff that they have. Although
it's pretty good stuff. It's pretty good stuff.
Well, I think it's improved since the draft, actually, which is the rare thing, at least in my mind. Maybe not to other people, but in my mind, it's improved since the draft because Kuminga fell to them. You can see him being like a very high upside building block. And I think Moses Moody is one of the 5 best players in the draft, and they got him at 14. I do think Weissman sucks. So when it was Weissman and like, here's 7 and 14, which are like fine, but now they've actually improved them. It does seem like something, but they're not going to get anything for those players that's not from a team that wants to rebuild. Like they're not
correct. They chose the Kuminga pick. To me, was we know we're going to trade him to somebody who wants to rebuild, so let's pick the upsideiest guy we can. Yeah, it smelled to that.
Yeah. I mean, even then, I think it also happened to be the best value. It was just like it just worked out that way. And as good as that is, like they clearly weren't doing the like. Maybe if Indiana hadn't sniped Chris Duarte from them right before, then they would have gone with that. But it just seems like Steph and Clay and Draymond, everybody knows that this is the last stretch of success for them. Like we're going for it right now, and there's no reason to. There's no reason not to. This is them.
3 years, 4 years, I guess. That they just signed Curry to that. What was it? 4-year, $215 million extension or something like that. Like, 3-4 years is what they have.
Gotta go for it. So I think if they're in that spot, there's just limited guys that can trade with them, and then even probably would. And I've been saying this on the pod for a while. It just doesn't seem like the Blazers would want to send him to Golden State. And it seems like for him to continue his legacy, it would seem like not the place for him. Even though he is from Oakland, it just doesn't seem right. I keep saying that, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe they just make that trade with them. But it's just the machinations of it makes too much sense. Ben going there and being like unlocked by the shooting there. They believe in those kinds of guys. He can be new Draymond, and they're both dynamic enough, I think, to play at the same time with those shooters out there. And then we get to sort of like grab their young guys, throw them onto Portland, and we get to him. It seems to make the most sense out of everybody, but I wouldn't rule out like, just randomly trading him to some nothing team because they offered the best package.
I also don't think the Sixers are getting out of this scot-free on the picks and young players side. Like I don't think this is just a Ben thing. Mm-hmm. That wouldn't be my guess. And you've said before, and I agree. I will agree and disagree. Like you've said before, well, there's a point at which the price becomes prohibitive, but at this point, I agree in that you have to have that attitude. where I disagree is that I don't know that there is a cost that is prohibitive at this point. Like I think it is such a perfect fit. There's not everything's going to be perfect, but it's so close to perfect, and the timing is necessary that you don't want to get obliterated by this, but also you don't want to be too precious about something that you don't need to be precious about and blow it up. And I think that's probably what happened with Harden. And then, for numerous reasons, but I just don't, I think you have to make this happen if this can happen. That's basically where I am on this, is that you can't let this go.
I think it'll be everything except for Matisse. I think that it'll be Max. They can't trade Springer until for some amount of months because they just signed him. But
I think it's just a month, right?
Is it that much?
Yeah, because I don't think it's one of those. I don't think it's one of those things like Nerlens or Burks or like I think signing a vet is different than signing a draft pick. Because remember the Wiggins thing? Remember when they traded Wiggins for Love? Wiggins was still on the Cavs, or on the what's it called, for a while, the Wolves for a while. But I think it's just a month. I think they could agree to trade him and then the trade just not be consummated, which would, by the way, be, could you imagine if we knew it happened, but it doesn't happen for another 3 weeks, which would be pretty painful. But I think they could trade a lot.
Yeah. My guess is still it would be Maxey and whatever several young guys that they like. If it's like Shake or Isaiah Joe or Ebal Paul, or I guess you can't trade Korkmaz either. But and then at least 2 firsts and probably a couple swaps.
Yep.
Plus Ben. And I think it's all the Warriors stuff too, which is Weissman and Kuminga and Moody and those picks and Wiggins to make the money work. I think it works. I think it's a good deal for both teams. I think that would make sense. And I think that would probably make, especially because the Warriors have a pretty good offseason. I think Otto Porter is the next Nick Batum. I think it just makes too much sense not to be. I think that would make probably the Sixers and Warriors the favorites or co-favorites in their conference.
Do you think it's troublesome at all? I would imagine a little bit, and also not surprising that players like Porter, who signs a minimum deal, that just doesn't seem like we ever get them. Like I guess I just wish. I know they want to keep everything sort of. They didn't have a lot of moves they could make because of this trade potentially happening, but it doesn't seem like anyone wants to play here.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm saying last time.
Yeah,
it seems like that, but I think that for the most part, if guys are going to take a pay cut to prioritize winning over everything, they're also doing it in cities that they really want to live in.
Yeah. And a chance that they, by the way, like Steph's won a championship. Like that's, so. And
it just seems like playing alongside, maybe it's a big man thing, but it seems way easier to be like, oh, I'll be a role player around Steph and Clay. Like that just seems awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
But I guess they're doing that in Brooklyn. They're doing it with LA. It seems like it's really just like 4 teams even. People aren't doing it with the Knicks, although maybe they'll start. But it's Brooklyn, it's Miami, it's the Lakers and the Warriors. They're not even really doing it with the Clippers.
Yeah. So this could potentially be my final podcast recorded in Delaware County, at least for several years, as I pack up and move to North Jersey. One of the things that we're moving is our 2 Big Barker dog beds. That's right. Rebel has one in our bedroom, and he also has one downstairs in the basement. We will be moving both Big Barkers because it would be weird to move all of our shit, but not the Big Barkers. But Big Barker, very important piece of our furniture because Rebel is like the most important person in our family, obviously. You adopt a dog, and your job from that point on is to make that dog's life as good as possible. Give them the best treats, take the dog for walks, and make sure that the dog is happy and healthy. And a real bed, a good bed that is supportive of your dog's joints is important in that mission. BigBarker.com/Ricky. bigbarker.com/Ricky is where you get your Big Barker dog bed and make your dog a processed pup. As not only will you get the Big Barker, if you go to bigbarker.com/Ricky, you get the 2 processed pup patches that you can put on the Big Barker to show that your dog is part of this exclusive club. Dogs end up sleeping on these shitty beds, and as they get older, and it might look like a good bed, right? It might look fluffy and nice, and you saw it in the pet store, but it's not supportive at all. It's more like a pillow than it is a bed. Big Barker is the only dog bed on the market that is a real bed. Supports your dog's joints. It's good for younger dogs, keeps your dog energetic and healthy, good for older dogs that have those creaky joints already. You got to get your dog a Big Barker. And it's called Big because it was designed in the beginning for bigger dogs, but they have even the Barker Jr. for tiny little dogs. Go to bigbarker.com/Ricky. You will not be disappointed. I guarantee it. A 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free. A 1-year at-home trial. If you don't like it for any reason, if your dog won't sleep on it, yada, 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 they'll give you a full refund and pay for the shipping. It is handmade in the USA, also local company right here in the Delaware Valley. Big Barker dog beds. I assume you saw the Matisse Damian Lillard photo of just amazing. That of all the, did he have any other photos with any other Australians, or was it only Matisse? I didn't look through all the Instagrams, but I don't think I saw any others.
It was only Matisse, but the only other non-American player, non-American team player that he took a picture with was someone that he was former teammates with. I'm forgetting who it was, but the Matisse picture has to be just, I respect you and I want to play with you and move in together as friends.
Yeah, I can't think of any other connection, right? I mean, is Thybulle and Damian Lillard's an Adidas guy, right? Isn't he Adidas? Are they shoe buddies or something? I can't even figure out how that happened.
I mean, they're both NBA players. They like each other, possibly. But Matisse went to UW, so that's Pacific Northwest, which is also close to Portland. So there's a possibility there's a connection there. But I think it's just Matisse is very good. He's a wing defender, and Dame respects him. And again, he wants to become in the same city, please.
One of my favorite things is that you jump to the reason the picture happened is because Dame wanted the picture with Matisse and not the other way around.
That's right. I don't. Yeah, Matisse, yeah.
It's certainly possible. I guess Thybulle wants a picture with one of the best players in the NBA.
But Dame posted it though. I guess it's different.
Yes, that's a good point. That's a good point.
I also feel like maybe it's more me than this, but like I guess Matisse seems like the kind of guy who would be like, hey, I respect you. Can we get a picture together? Like a nice thing. But if I was Matisse, I would be like, I'm not good enough to ask Dame for a picture. And I would only be like, oh, he wants one, then absolutely. But I guess that's why I'm not a professional basketball player. So that's why I don't get pictures with
not yet, at least.
Not yet.
So the just to sort of put a bow on the Lillard stuff, Jason Dumas, who is Jason Dumas is a TV reporter and radio host in San Francisco, but he is from here and he has had very reliable reporting inside of the Sixers front office, and I believe in his reporting. We can get him on at some point if we'd like to, but I do believe that his sources are legitimate. It doesn't mean that every piece of every news that he reports is like for sure 100% accurate, but I know sometimes we've seen like these random people come up with stories, but his has been consistent enough and I think pretty accurate enough for a while that you can sort of trust it. So his tweet the other day said, and our own Jake Fisher had reported something to this end last week or 2 weeks ago, and everybody was shitting on him. Jason Dumas, source: Ben Simmons has cut off communication with basically everyone in the Sixers organization. Everything is going through his agent, Rich Paul. Ben is open to going to Golden State, though he doesn't have much leverage in the situation. And then a quote as he was on 95.7 The Game in San Francisco: he's open to the California teams, is what I've been told. Joel Embiid has reached out to him several times since the end of the season. He hasn't returned Joel Embiid's calls. He doesn't want to return to the 76ers. Damage has been done. So there you go.
So to me, the agent thing is the least story I've ever heard in my life. Like you and the team are both basically publicly saying like time for everyone to move on, and it's good for both sides to just change the scenery. He absolutely should be having things go through his agent. If I had a deal at a studio and then they were like, we want to cancel it and move it somewhere else, I would definitely be like, don't talk to me, go through my lawyer or my agent. Like there's no reason for himself to start like chatting up Daryl or whoever until like afterwards when you can be like, hey, thanks for everything. Like there's just no reason.
I agree. I think caveat is anyone who thought, oh, they're going to like, there is a segment of the fan base who thinks all of this trade stuff is just is nonsense, and he's going to work with the team on a shot. Like all that shit is gone. I think we can confidently say. I think that this is the only. I agree with you in that the trade stuff should always go through his agent, but the notion that he is collaborative on an off-season program with them is pretty much over, I would say.
I think it was that way at first. They were trying to go from there, and then it's become like everybody just wants to move on at this point, and
right.
It is that way. The reason, I don't know, the Joel thing is upsetting if that's the case, that these guys seem to have a better relationship over the course of the year, but like in my mind, who benefits from this report coming out? Like it doesn't seem like Ben's camp would be like, yeah, tell people we're not returning Joel's calls. It doesn't seem like Joel would tell any. It doesn't seem like he really even has a camp at this point, because he's not repped, because as he goes into his thing, it doesn't seem like there's value for Joel or someone around him to be reporting that. And it really doesn't seem like the Sixers would want that stuff out there. It seems like the kind of thing that some California team, San Francisco, whatever, is reporting that to be like, hey, you have to do this now. You can't go into the season with Ben because we're saying it's too fractured, and by spreading this to a reporter in the Bay Area, we're spreading the seeds of like this move needs to happen before the media day training camp stuff.
That's certainly possible. Joel doesn't have as much of a camp, I don't think, but it doesn't mean he hasn't said anything to anyone. I don't. First of all, once Ben doesn't call me back once, I don't know how Embiid is calling him several times. Like, sure. I don't know how much of that I'm buying. I think there's probably something here, is what I would say. I don't think it's entirely made up, but I think there's probably something there, though I don't think Joel is repeatedly calling Ben Simmons to try to get him to call him back. That would be, yeah. What is the other thing I wanted to bring up on this? Oh, yeah. Several emailers have asked this. Does Alex Subers go with Ben Simmons wherever he gets traded? Is that like a package deal? I
think so. I think absolutely.
Does it count against the cap?
No.
Okay.
It's outside of it, yeah.
Okay. All right. So, well, I hope Subers ends up going where he wants to go. So the other Sixers free agency, and then we'll get into the rest of the NBA because there's a couple other stories there, is Danny Green re-signs with the Sixers, 2 years, $20 million. Danny becomes the only guy that I know in history who's uses his podcast partner to publicly negotiate and almost have it instantly resolved, almost instantly, because this got resolved like 3 hours after we did our last podcast. So good to have Danny Green back. I thought it was with the limited number of teams who would want Danny Green and also had cap space, and with as much as he fit on this team, I think it was bound to happen at some point, and I'm glad it did. It seems like a fair deal, and it's also a tradable contract if they need to do it too. So I'm glad Danny Green's back.
100%. I mean, we like Danny. We think he's valuable. The odds of them winning the series against Atlanta, if Danny was there, I think are significantly higher. If only because maybe it wouldn't have made their offense much better, but you take Seth out earlier and stop getting targeted so much by like Herter, and which is even just upsetting to say. And just letting him, like, waiving George Hill was weird and makes the entire George Hill situation weird. But it would have been even worse if they just let Danny walk for nothing. Like, that just doesn't seem like smart. It doesn't seem like Daryl's ethos to just allow things to go away for nothing in return. I think Danny's going to be helpful. I think hopefully Matisse keeps improving and passes him, and then Danny can be used as a trade chip and salary matching for somebody. But he's great and he wants to be here. Did we get clarity on that second year? Because there was talk about it being
it being non-guaranteed, right? Yeah, I don't know.
Harrison Sanford said it was, and then I think Shams said it wasn't, so I wasn't sure. But it seems maybe it's like some agreed upon option with it's not like fully guaranteed. I don't know.
Well, I'm glad he's here.
Yeah, glad he's here. Good guy. Let's get him on the pod. Let's talk to him. Let's talk to Danny. Let's see what's up.
Yeah, I want to. It went away, but I want to talk through the criticisms of the fans. I want to talk through that. With him. I want to. It's interesting. We've gotten some emails from Australians specifically from Australians about the toxic fans and Ben and yada yada yada. And I think there's a lot of that, because we mentioned this with Danny, that comes from consuming this city through Twitter and Twitter only, which I think not only gives sort of a skewed version of the fan base, but the way that Twitter works and the way that social media works, it sort of like elevates the biggest lunatics into your feed all the time. So I don't think it was like toxic for Ben in Philadelphia, honestly. Like I don't think there are many cities that would have operated much differently with Simmons. And we've seen, and we had this discussion about Green when he mentioned it in the venue. They were I don't think they could have been better with him. There was some nervous gasping or whatever when he would miss a free throw, but they weren't booing him or anything. They were pretty supportive. So
athletes are always going to be very pro athlete, rightfully so.
Yeah, for sure.
You can find opinions for anything online, and you can read into them and saying like, people want me to do this, but they also want me to do this. So like, make a decision, people. It's like, well, they're different people. So
yeah.
Some people have other opinions. They're not one monolith. But yeah, we've talked about this. Like, Sixers fans were extremely generous to Markelle and Ben, like, throughout both of their tenures here. And the narrative is going to be that they weren't, and that's wrong. It's just not the case.
Yeah, it's just not what happened. So a couple of other things in free agency. The NBA is investigating Chicago, Miami, I assume Toronto and New Orleans for tampering in the Lonzo Ball sign and trade, the Kyle Lowry sign and trade. This is also goofy it's that
so stupid. What's going on?
Like, here's what's dumb, and they're not going to cancel these deals. The dumbest part is that, like, who is it hurting? Like, I don't understand. Real tampering was like what Magic Johnson did on TV, when a team executive is trying to lure a player a year before free agency, like all those things.
To me, that's not even real tampering either.
Well, it sort of is. I mean, like if I was in a small market and I had a star and there was a GM on TV of a large market team fucking with me 2 years before my guy hits free agency, like I can understand, don't do that. But teams working out a deal before the like free agency actually starts, like I don't understand how that's such a big problem. If they wanted to work with somebody else, they would work with somebody else before it doesn't preclude anything from happening. And as we've been through before, players can't tamper. Not that it's impossible for them to talk to players on other teams, but tampering is not defined by players talking to each other. They're allowed to talk to each other. So they're allowed to talk about each other publicly. So there must have been some team that was mad, which makes Silver do this fucking fake public show that they're investigating things. So what are they going to fucking find out? You know what I mean? Like, it's also stupid.
What? It's a joke. Like, whatever. I'm gonna choose not to give a shit. And if the deals are like rescinded, I'll probably think it's funny. But that would be.
I don't think that'll happen.
That'd be pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, like, everyone's an adult in the situation, and everyone is, doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
Like it's not like it's, hey, college coaches are coming to like a 14-year-old's AAU game and trying to like offer them whatever version of like shady shit there is there. This is like, hey, we're going to give you money to play for our team.
Yep.
I guess, and they want to do it or not. And we're going to make this trade. I don't know. It's just dumb. But I love the inconsistency with which Adam Silver operates all the time.
All the time.
Very good.
100%.
Everything's for optics. Nothing is real. Good job, Adam.
Cornblau and Cornblau is the official law firm of the process. I want to read this email. It's a great email. And it sort of paints one funny thing about the emails we get about Cornblau and Cornblau. This is a great email. My city recently redid the water mains on our street. A few days after that, our water main burst, which flooded our water lines with mud, ended up causing a bunch of plumbing problems, broke a few appliances. The city refused to take any responsibility or even acknowledge any issue was a result of the water main bursting. So I was curious to see what type of recourse, if any, was available. Here's my favorite part. Despite living in Utah, I emailed Cornblau, and believe it or not, I got a Cornblau.
Wow.
I sent him a way too long email about the situation at 9:20 a.m. on Tuesday morning, and he literally called me back at 9:25 a.m. 5 minutes later. After chatting about Sixers fandom for a few minutes, he was super helpful, explained exactly what could be done in this type of situation. It was by far my best experience ever with a lawyer. Listening to the Ricky is like having a cheat code in life, where if you have any issue at all you have to do is say, trust the process, and a random person will go out of their way to help you out. Best lawyer ever. Thanks, Adam. I mean, this guy's, he's a personal injury lawyer, him and his mom, personal injury law firm. It's not just those two, but that's who runs it in the Delaware Valley. Been there for 40 years. And they're helping out a guy in Utah whose house got flooded because of a water main break. That's what kind of guy this is. That's who you want behind you. That's who you want chasing down somebody who did you wrong. And that's what he does.
Objectively, he should manage his time better. But
if you were his
don't
manager,
need to worry about that. You don't need to. You just
that's his
happy
problem.
to help.
Yeah. Some of the biggest personal injury results in the Delaware Valley in southeastern PA. Medical malpractice is their specialty, but any sort of personal injury, and even if your water main breaks, if you need any legal advice whatsoever, this is your guy. It's like having a cheat code, man. If you think you have a case, give him a call or shoot him an email.
Cornblau is a damn cheat code.
He's a damn cheat code. 215-576-7200. Ask for Adam or email cornblau@cornblauandcornblau.com. Cornblau spelled with a K, the rest.
It's up to you.
There you go. Cornblau and Cornblau, official law firm of the process. The rest of the free agency news: Jimmy Butler signs a max extension with the Heat, which I'm sure will age incredibly. And Kevin Durant signs a 4-year, $200 million extension with the Brooklyn Nets, which I thought was a little surprising. Were you surprised by that at all?
Not really. Seems like this is the most like, I want to be here. I'm making the team in my image type of thing. And I guess he could have done 1+1s for a long time, but they seem to really know what they're doing over there in Brooklyn. I thought the Steve Nash hiring was pretty stupid, although he seems to have done a pretty good job.
It worked out. I mean, that's a manage egos job, and he seems to be able to do that.
Yeah, I love every time I think about it. I love Kyrie saying we don't even have a coach. Like, we're kind of all the coach. I think it's so funny. Bruce Brown is kind of the coach sometimes. I love it. It's great.
But it takes it takes a certain kind of a coach to not let that bother him.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Because Kyrie thinks of that, whoever the coach is, I would think. So.
Yeah, totally. But I think they have those three guys, but they've also done a really nice job of building out just, both playable vets and also young guys that are getting better and are useful as trade chips if they need to be. And so I've been impressed with Brooklyn. I feel like they've done a good job. And I think you can think the same with the Sixers, because they have, obviously they've struggled to get past the second round, but they have consistently found value with guys in the 20s in the second round and had them be roster spots so they didn't have to depend on, I hope Wes Matthews picks us to come for the minimum. So
yeah. They've done a good job. They've done a good. I mean, they were the favorites to win the title last year, but I for some reason think that they're even bigger favorites to win the title this coming year, given that they'll have a real off season and that they have played together and all those sorts of things. So they'll be that's a fucking mammoth team to try to get past, which makes the Lillard thing even more important, I think.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we really dove into the mailbag, and we have so many good mailbag questions. We thank you for sending in your mailbag questions. Write StrickySanchez@gmail.com. Remember, one basketball and one non-basketball. Mailbag brought to you by Kinetic Skateboarding, our friends at Kinetic who sponsor all of AU's writing. Man, these sneaks, I can't get these because they look like they're suede, but these sneaks they have on the Instagram, the Adidas Skateboarding Booznitz Indoor Super. It looks like sort of like a black Samba almost that's suede and has this awesome X and V in red on the back of the shoes. Amazing. Available in the store and online now. Just check out Kinetic. Check out their social. Lots of cool stuff. Use code Dave Silver for 9.1% off your first order. All right. This comes from Daniel in Melbourne. G'day, Spike and Mike. I have decided to decorate my room with pictures from the process years. What 3 on-court moments during those years do you think I should use? Can't wait to hear your thoughts. Been loving the pods. Keep up the great work.
Daniel is 55 years old.
I said something. So we live in a 3-bedroom house currently, and we have like the main bedroom and then the 2 smaller bedrooms. And occasionally one of the smaller bedrooms became this room, my office. And I occasionally will refer to it as my room. And every time I do that, I feel like I'm 14 years old. Mm-hmm. You can't say my room, if you're a grown up. But anyway. Sure.
I think definitely the TJ getting strangled by Joel.
Yep. That's the one that popped into my mind the first time.
I think probably Dario jumping in midair, pumping his fist.
Yep. That's a great one.
I think
what about Embiid airplane?
I guess, do we call that the process years?
Yeah, I guess not. I mean,
it depends how dark you want to. Do you want to get like sad like 5 random the picture of 5 random Sixers leaving the court that like
yeah,
Elliott Williams and
Hollis
and James Anderson are on.
It's not on the court, but that photo of Nerlens and Embiid and when they went to go see Dario, was that with Sam? Do you remember that photo? That was a great one too, but wasn't
NCW
on court.
Was there too, right?
Yes, but was not on court. Does not count as on court. Anything else pop into your head?
Find a place for Covington or Roten.
Probably
a couple good ones.
The Covington catch and lay in buzzer beater against.
Yeah, I just can't see. I don't see the if there maybe there's a good shot there, but I don't know what the picture is.
Yeah, maybe Covington falling into the stands when that metal thing hit him in the back, and we didn't see him for 45 minutes.
That was so weird. Also, Dario sitting on the bench with tons of towels on him.
Yeah.
That's good.
That is a great shot.
Mm-hmm.
That is a great shot. I wonder if is there a Brett one that sticks out in your mind? A Brett Brown one?
The ping pong. Him playing ping pong.
Oh yeah, not on court, but that is a great shot. Yeah. Okay, this comes from Ned. This is a great email. Dear Spike and Mike, and I think you will remember this episode of the pod, even though they all disappear off the internet after they're over. Dear Spike and Mike, I know it will likely start to get tiresome rehashing Ben's miscues from the playoffs, but I had a flashback to a previous pod where you briefly spoke with Ben's mental skills coach early in his professional career. I went back and listened to the interview with Graham Betchert, and needless to say, many of his answers in retrospect are dripping with irony. Here are a few of the better ones. Yes.
I don't remember this at all.
Oh, I remember this. So here are a few of the better ones I culled from the interview, including one from Spike. This one's from Graham. Ben Simmons, in my opinion, will go down as a great basketball shooter, just like Jason Kidd went down as a great basketball shooter by the end of his career. He wants to get better at it, and he wants to improve at it. Another one from Graham. From knowing Ben just a few years, I see this guy with a huge desire to be great and a willingness to do everything he can to do it. Here's a quote from me His first instinct is not to shoot. A few more from Graham. He's the most calm player under pressure I've ever had the ability to work with. It reminded me of the same skill that Michael Jordan was able to develop, and we call it the eye of the hurricane, where there's going to be chaos around you, but you have to learn to be calm in it. One more. I see a very special ability that's right there that can be so calm in these tense moments, and he has the ability to be assertive when he's calm. There was also a funny moment where Spike accidentally dialed the wrong number and potentially woke someone up. Anyways, I thought a few of these would be fun to read with the listeners. So you don't remember that at all. You don't remember having him on at all.
0%.
There was a whole article on him. I think Jake Povorski, our own Jake Povorski, did the article on Liberty Ballers about this guy, which is how we found the guy. And then we did an interview with him. So the emailer was Ned. Ned also gives a jigsaw. I thought this was a good one. I think I know that your answer, because your reasoning behind everything is like, oh, that would be fun to do, even though it wouldn't be fun at all. So here's your option. Option 1, you have to always put your shirt on backwards, and you can only change it when someone else outside of your household comments that your shirt is on backward. Or option 2, every time you address someone starting a conversation, you must refer to them as, quote, old sport.
Move. Yeah, I go option 1 for sure.
Oh, really? I thought you would like to be the old sport guy.
No, that's like a little too hijinksy for me. I feel like I can get away with most people not commenting on my shirt being backwards. I wear a lot of just like plain shirts, so you'd have to see a tag. Button downs would be tough. That's a pretty egregious error. I would seem hungover all the time. It's like, oh, I put on a button down going down the back. My bad. But most shirts, I think I'd be fine.
From Mike. Just got listening to today's pod, and I thought I have a take I thought I'd like to hear your opinion on. The return that Morey has been asking for Ben has been significant, in line with the ask for other superstars, most recently Harden. What if Morey is setting a huge bar on a trade so that when the return does not come, Morey can go to Ben and say, see, you aren't in that category of player, and you have to get better at these things to get there. I guess what I'm saying is there a scenario that you can envision where Morey is doing all of this to get Ben to understand all the things he needs to do to take the leap we saw Embiid take last year?
No, I think that's a pretty galaxy brain thing to think. There was a nugget in a John Hollinger story in The Athletic where he talked about back when he worked in the Memphis front office, what it was like to negotiate with Daryl or anybody in Houston. And it was like they made the most calls in the league. They would always have a high starting point and slowly come down. Every team had their different vibe from how they like to handle trades and all that stuff. But it really seems right for Daryl to be doing this. Even if the Dame thing doesn't happen, no matter what, it seems like, why wouldn't he start from the highest value? Why would he agree to the terms that are not beneficial to him? Why would he agree to be like, that Hawks series, we should operate as if the Hawks series is who he is. If I'm Daryl, I'm saying like, yeah, throw that out. It was terrible. It was a nightmare. Like, he's a three-time All-Star, 25, second in all defensive player of the year, like never has any off the court issues. Like, you're not going to find a better superstar at entering his prime to build around. And so I'm going to ask for everything you fucking got, which I think is the right way to go about it.
I want to be clear. I don't think I would rather have anybody in the NBA, executive-wise, to navigate this than Morey. It is a very difficult situation. Right now, I think he is one of the few best, if not the best, in the entire NBA. When I lost it on the Drummond thing, I don't think he's infallible. Like, he's made mistakes in his career, and obviously it's not the biggest deal in the world that they signed a backup center that I think doesn't do any of the things that merely 2 days before he said that a backup center should be able to do. But like, the reaction to him signing somebody who I don't think is good or a good signing shouldn't be, well, there's nobody there, or who would you have signed? Like, that's his fucking job. Just like, go get a better one than that. And, but all that said, I think, it's him, Ujiri. Like, I mean, you mentioned the Brooklyn front office has done a really good job. I mean, there are not very many executives that are in Daryl Morey's class. And I don't know that he'll get this right, but I certainly trust that if anybody can get it right, he is in the collection of GMs who can, Non-basketball question is for Mike. This is a basketball question. It's a non-Sixers question. I play a lot of hoops, and when I come home, my wife asks whether I had fun. Well, did I have fun if I played well but lost? I won but didn't play well? Years and years of playing, and I still don't have an answer of whether I had fun if I played. What do you think?
I think it's touchy. I think if it's a pickup game, played well but lost is probably fine. If it's like a big league game, then maybe not. If you put winning first, as far as your recreational low stakes basketball game goes, I think if you have enough plays that you can brag to yourself about and some fun success and didn't get hurt, then I think at this point it is a fun event.
A lot of times I'll do something and my wife is like, "So did you have fun?" And I was like, I don't even know how many times I even have fun anymore. I just do things. I'm just waiting to die, man. No, that sounds depressing. I don't really feel that way. But fun is a weird way to not everything that I enjoy doing do I say that I had fun doing. I enjoy running in the morning. I don't think that's ever fun. I enjoy my work. I also don't know that it's fun. I feel like maybe I need to have more fun. 222 writes to Ricky Sanchez listeners have trusted the Povorski and bought engagement rings from our very own LL Povorski. That happened on August 4th, just a few days ago. 222 writes to Ricky Sanchez listeners. He's been with us for he's been with us since the very beginning, but as an advertiser on the pod, the very first advertiser on the pod, maybe 5 years, something like that. 222 rings, not a bad deal at all. When you buy an engagement ring, you don't know what you're looking at. That thing could be completely fake. You would have no idea, right? What do you put the diamond in your mouth and bite on it? Can you do with it? You don't know what you're doing. That's why you need LL Povorski. You need a guy who's not going to sell you a fake ring. You need a guy who has sold 222 other Ricky listeners rings. So if you need an engagement ring, you can't go to anybody else. LL Povorski, also a damn cheat code. And not just engagement rings, any other piece of jewelry. You need wedding bands, he's got you. You need an anniversary present, he's got you. You need Mother's Day present, he's got you. Whatever. LL Povorski Jewelers. Been in business 32 years in the same place, 707 Walnut. You don't stay in business that long unless you are an amazing liar or a very good jeweler. 215-627-2252 is the phone number. Lee@llpovorski.com is the email address, and tweet at him at llpovorski. And also a generous supporter of our charities, Providence Animal Center, coded by kids. LL Povorski Jewelers.
Always fun, not waiting to die. LL Povorski Jewelers.
From Joe. Who are us? Where are you? What a time to be a Sixers fan. Serious question. Can you explain why Anthony Tolliver is still on the roster, but George Hill is gone? I feel like it has to do with the guarantee kicking in for Hill, but I also think the whole point of Hill's contract value is that it was tradable. Would the guarantee have affected the cap situation? I still can't explain the George Hill thing.
Yeah.
It was just a fuck up. Right after I said, maybe he wanted to go to Milwaukee. I mean, maybe it was a good,
generous thing,
person to person thing. Could have been. Non-basketball question. How do you feel about board sports making it to the Olympics? I love skateboarding. So I love to see people realizing that little girls are killer skaters these days.
The Tolliver thing is could be. I think he could be waived at any time. Or
maybe they forgot about him.
The country, they could forget about him. He's been kicking around the league long enough, man. You know how many times that I just made $2.4 million because somebody forgot about me. It's all the time.
Can you imagine? They show up for media day or whatever, and Maurice sees Tolliver walk in.
Oh
and you
my
have
God, we forgot to wave the cap sheet. Oh, fuck.
the feeling like when you get halfway to work and you realize that you left your wallet on your desk, and you're doing can I get through the day without the wallet? But what if I get pulled over? Should I turn around? I just forgot.
Anyway, back to the girl skateboarding, which was dope. I watched some of that.
He said, I also hated watching people with no idea about the culture and history trying to assess the sport. Curious on other sports fans' opinions. I love seeing that make the Olympics. I think Olympics should be every sport that anyone could consider a sport should be in the Olympics. But skateboarding is fucking awesome. It's great to see skateboarding in the Olympics. I think it's awesome. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I was watching synchronized swimming at the hotel bar last night.
Yeah.
Wild stuff. People have impressive skills, and they deserve to get a medal for it. So
watching, if you go to Kinetic's Instagram, or is it maybe Ben's personal Instagram, who owns Kinetic, watching his daughter skateboard is awesome. He puts up those videos all the time. Watching people skateboard in general, having tried to do it when I was in my mid-teens, like 14, 15 years old, and just not being able to figure it out. Skateboarding blows me away. Like,
there was some of the female skateboarders were like 13. The one who won the medal, like, was 13 or 14, and the oldest medaler was like 16 or something like that. But the American skateboarder was like 35 or something, 34. And her competing against like 13-year-olds was just so funny to me. And she looked, nothing against her at all, but just compared to these children, she looked 1,000 years old. Like, really, really was very fun to watch. It's like, how is this possible? At what other point are 13-year-olds and 35-year-olds like competing for the same thing?
Right. Yeah. So this is George Hill related. This comes from Chris. I've been holding on to this email for a while. As the Bucks have been crowned new NBA champs, congrats to them and their fans. They're likewise being praised for all of their offseason moves, specifically the acquisition of Drew Holiday. As I agree on how huge he was for the franchise, I also have to look at their in-season moves, specifically the sign that they traded for him. The signing, or did they sign him? PJ Tucker. They traded for him, right? I can't even remember. Did they just sign him? Yeah.
The Bucks traded for him, and then the Heat have just signed him.
No. But I mean, in season, Houston didn't just cut him, right? The Bucks traded for him.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. If you remember, the Sixers were rumored to be in trade talks for Tucker as well, but instead acquired George Hill. Looking back, is it safe to say that this trade deadline acquisition of Milwaukee getting Tucker over the Sixers was the difference between the Bucks winning the title and the Sixers making it to the Eastern Conference Finals? I don't think Milwaukee beats Brooklyn without Tucker guarding Durant. And maybe with Tucker, the Sixers would have been able to beat Atlanta in that Game 7. Now, this offseason, we're facing such huge issues as trading Simmons or keeping or trading our young players to future draft picks. But would this have all been avoidable with a simple trade line decision of Tucker over Hill?
I mean, no. I mean,
they would have. They would have had a better chance of beating the Hawks with Tucker rather than George Hill. I think that's fair to say.
I think George Hill played bad in the series. PJ Tucker could have also played bad in the series. They needed someone with George Hill's skill set more than they needed someone with PJ Tucker's skill set, especially if Danny was healthy. I don't think the reason that they lost the Hawks series was, I mean, obviously they made mistakes on both sides of the ball, but and Seth getting repeatedly torched by Kevin Huerter was tough because you just couldn't, and Seth was their best offensive player, so it was tough to take him out, but you also couldn't leave him in there. But the reason they lost because they couldn't score. Yeah, it wasn't defense. And PJ Tucker is just going to stand in the corner and hustle and play physical and all that stuff, and I love him. I think he's great, but and I think he proved to still be a better player than George Hill, but I think team needs wise, it was not as necessary. They already had Ben and Matisse and Danny, and it's just you didn't need that guy that much, and it didn't work out. But I don't think you can target there's a lot of reasons that it didn't work out, but I think that's not like the one.
Yeah, and the Ben thing, truthfully, if that Ben thing happens in the Eastern Conference Finals, we're in the same place. We're in the same place right now. Then if it happens in the Eastern Conference Finals, I don't think that matters. I think if that meltdown continued and they still got to the Eastern Conference Finals and it continued through the Eastern Conference Finals and they lose the Eastern Conference Finals, I just don't think we're in a different place right now. So
maybe not. I might disagree a little bit.
If he melted down for 7 more games.
The fact that it happened against the Hawks. Oh, you're saying like if they won that game and another series, everything with the Hawks series was the same?
Yeah, everything was the Hawks series was the same, but they happened to win it. And then they go through another series and Ben's meltdown continues. I don't think that the Sixers are in any different place than they are now.
That's probably true. I was taking that to mean if he went through the Hawks series was like his more normal version of himself.
No.
And then it happened against the Bucks or the Nets.
And final question, and this also comes from Chris. You have 2 options. You have to keep Ben beyond the 2022 deadline. That means he's here for the playoffs next season, or you have to trade Ben for CJ McCollum straight up. What would you do, and what do you think Morey would do?
I really don't love CJ McCollum as a value trade. You could talk me into CJ and Cove being like, that's the value you're getting. That's fine. That would be a B minus version of a Ben trade. I think it'd be totally fine. I don't know that would set the Sixers up for championship contention, but I think keeping Ben another full season could lead to. I mean, I think there's a chance that if Ben's here by media day, I think there's a chance that he just holds out.
He won't play another game for the Sixers. It
seems like things have gone too far, and I wouldn't blame him at this point for being like, everybody knows what it is. Make a decision. I don't know that he's got a ton of leverage to start calling out where he wants to go. But I mean, like the California teams, like what California teams? Like aside from like a sign and trade with Kawhi, you don't want to go to Sacramento. The Lakers don't have anything to trade for. It's the Warriors with that deal that we talked about. So,
well, I wonder if he meant Sacramento too, because Sacramento has been part of the rumors, right?
I'd be surprised if he did. It might be like they might do that trade, and then Rich Paul puts out a statement. Wait, not like this.
We forgot Sacramento was in California.
God damn it! It's like basically like Nevada. Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Well, so unless Ben gets traded this week, I won't be a pod. We decided you're doing a pod with a mystery co-host, right? In the middle of the week at some point. You doing
the mystery co-host is we just gotta ask one of our guys.
Well, I
didn't want to act like there was this big mystery, but I'm excited to host it. If I can
you got to do the commercials.
Put you out of a job.
You got to do
finally spread my wings. Really get the reins of this thing. No holds barred.
Do you want to know now which commercials you're gonna do?
No.
Okay. Oh, you just want to find out day of?
That's right. I might not do them. I might do other commercials. I might do ads for people we don't even have. That don't even support.
Wow, that would
real
not
wild
be
card stuff.
Good decision.
CJ, try to rein me in. Just try to do it, CJ.
And then so that'll happen at the middle of the week, and then I'll be back on the weekend. Unless Ben gets traded, I'll fucking figure something out. We'll talk to you next time. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah, like that.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me,
then I won't fuck with you.
But if you fuck with me,
I'm gonna fucking kill you! Time for plan B.